Welcome back. This is Sharon Vornholt, and I'm so happy to have Cally Doyle on the podcast today. Cally lives in Tampa, Florida, but she was born and raised in Connecticut. She's an agent with 21 years experience. She's always been a top producer, and she sells on average at least 50 houses a year. In addition to that, she has rehabbed over 100 houses in the past 15 years. And then you add on the really big piece here, she has a teenage daughter, which I'm so familiar with teenagers. So welcome to the show, Cally.
Hi, thank you.
Well, you've got a really impressive background, but let's start out. I just kind of skimmed over the surface. Let's start out by having you tell everyone a little bit about yourself, how you got started.
I was married in 1995, and the first house that we bought was a HUD home. And it intrigued me so much to know that there could be such a good deal out there for people. So the home that we bought was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,400 square, and it was $68,000. And the mortgage was less than we had on the Harley in the garage and the Ford Explorer in the driveway. So it was interesting to me how it really helped us as a young couple being married. So I wanted to do that for people, and I wanted to learn about the HUD program. So rather than teach school, I went to real estate school and got a real estate license, and I started selling HUD homes.
But that's interesting that your original idea was to be a teacher, and then you went overseas and taught school. Is that correct?
Yes, I was in Al Samia, Kuwait for a couple of years, once before the occupation, the Iraqi occupation, and then after the liberation, after the Gulf War, in 90, well, they were invaded in 90, so I guess I went back in 91 and 92, and it wasn't the same beautiful place that it used to be, so it was difficult, and I would rather, it just was very, very hard to see a war-torn territory where it used to be a very beautiful place. So it was too hard, so I came home.
So you bought your first property that you lived in. Then what was your first investing strategy when you decided to do real estate? Or let me back up a little bit. You started out first as a realtor.
Correct. And I was helping people to buy their first home. And then traipsing around in the HUD world, because believe me, HUD is a completely different planet. HUD is an acronym for Housing and Urban Development, which is a branch of FHA. And a lot of people think FHA is first-time home buyer. It's not. It's Federal Housing Authority. So when there's an FHA loan in place, if someone goes belly up and doesn't make their payment, then it goes back into the HUD asset program. So it then becomes an FHA repo, which is known as a HUD home, commonly known as. So when I started selling HUD homes and traipsing around the HUD world, I would meet investors just because they would be looking at them. And HUD was designed as a program to help the first-time homeowner, and it still is today. But if it doesn't sell for the first 15 days or so, then it goes open to investors. So I began selling HUD homes to investors after home buyers found that it was too much work to fix it up.
Okay.
So yeah, some of these homes were just so distressed and so much deferred maintenance that it really was over their head for a first-time home buyer. So I started concentrating on investors. And then I started realizing I'm making these investors a lot of money. Why aren't I doing this for myself? Because why am I saying I'm good at this if I'm not doing it myself? It doesn't make any sense.
Well,
so,
you kind of got into it accidentally then.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
And the best strategy that I had found at the time was to be a partner. And what I mean by that is I wasn't liquid enough to buy a home on my own. I didn't know the concept of hard money, never heard of it. So one of my investors said, "How many of these have you bought?" And I said, "None." He said, "Why?" I said, "I don't have the money." He said, "Let's partner." So we did. And, a lot of people say, "Oh my God, 14% interest or something, you're crazy." Really? If the investor made $18,000 and I made 18, when I went to bed that night, did I still think about the $18,000 that I put in the bank? Absolutely. Did I care that he made 14%? No, I was thankful for him. So partnering is a beautiful way for an individual to get started. That's and you asked me what was my first strategy, being a partner was absolutely the best strategy at that time.
Mm-hmm. I find it so curious that people, they think partnering is a bad thing. They only think of I'm giving up half, when in reality they probably wouldn't have the other half.
Correct. He made it possible. I made it possible for him by giving him the knowledge that I had, because I'm out in the field all day, every day, opening doors. He doesn't have time to do that. He doesn't want to do that. That's what I do. That's what I get paid for. So
right. That's what you bring to the table.
Correct. And I think personally, with any good relationship, if this person brings 50 and this person brings 50 and you meet, equally, it's a beautiful thing in any relationship.
I think it's a perfect partnership myself. So you started out, then you started right in, when you partnered with somebody, started right in rehabbing.
I did, because the reason the house didn't sell is because it's a mess. And I would stand there and I'd say, yeah, but if we just throw some flooring in and paint it up and call the roofer guy to get over here, and then we could have a solid house. And I started watching the people that we hired, and started watching how they get paid and how they work and the time frame, and how this house evolved into such a gorgeous little, house that was in high demand now, and how the price, comes up. Price reflects condition. Absolutely.
So, and I think that's another important thing. You learned the business by watching and observing the process. That's the fact that you partnered with someone, you made money, but you got an education too. They learned from you and you learned from them.
True. And the thing is I was afraid. I'm a scaredy cat by nature. So I wasn't brave, and it's easy to be brave with someone else's money. So it's easy as a realtor to say, oh yeah, you can make money on this, do it. But put your own money into it and see if you still have that same positive, absolute with certainty this house will make money. So I would, help investors, and just help, meaning I was just facilitating the transaction, just being a realtor, earning a commission on the sale, and then listing it again, earning the money on the sale. But when I really started to see how it was fun, and I started to see how the investor would gain my trust because he was a repeat customer. Nobody comes back to you if you do a bad job. We all know this. So they would come back and say, find another one, Cally, find another one, Cally. So I thought, hey, I might kind of know what I'm doing here. So maybe I should risk my own money. And then when I did, when you bring that first check to the bank, you get the fever. You're hooked. You're an addict. You're like, I just want to flip everything,
Yeah.
So it's easy to sit there and say, oh, this would be a great house to flip, but are you really going to put your own money on the line? That's the issue. So partnering,
like an addiction, isn't it?
It is. But the partner part of it was the way to bridge that gap where I was not brave. So partnering where I didn't have my own money invested in the first place, partnering as a realtor and then partnering as an equity partner was the way to take care of that cold feet type thing.
So let's talk a little about working with other investors. Do you have, people find it difficult. I know agents and investors sometimes have this odd relationship. So,
They do.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute. Do you ever say, maybe I'm not a good fit with this person or that person, or hey, I really like working with this person? Do you have like write off, or is that kind of the school of hard knocks?
When I was young in the business, if you called yourself an investor, I wanted to be your best friend. And I wanted to work with you. If you had money, I'll work with you. Then I learned, you really got to click. And as in any relationship, you have to have that, what my dad used to say, chemistry. You have to have that. So the best thing is to have a conversation with your investor and see what he expects. If he has unrealistic expectations, then it's not a good fit. It's just not. I can't make promises and then I can't make promises and then not meet them, because then he'll be unhappy. And I'm not looking for that one-time hit. I'm looking for a long-term relationship. I have an investor right now I've been working with for 15 years. He was one of the first investors, called on an ad. I knew him from nothing. And now I've made him over 2 million. And he's just a small guy. He just does one every now and again, but he's one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm. I think of these types of partnerships kind of like, I tell people you wouldn't go on a first date and say, will you marry me? So it's kind of that same process. You kind of, get to know them a little. And before you make any giant commitments, and if you finally do decide to work with them, you're still kind of in a tenuous position, because you don't know till you know if it's actually going to work out. But, some of the biggest mistakes I've seen people make is just jump into relationships with people. They really don't have a clue about the quality of their work, or their work ethic, or their ethics, if they have any. You have to really check people out, because at the end of the day, you're hinging your reputation and your brand onto theirs. And vice versa. So it has to be a good fit. Well,
if you think about the level of trust, the trust that investor is putting into you, you have to perform. So if you don't like them personally, that's fine, but you have to do that good job. You have to do that job that you wanted to do. And what that job is specifically is that bottom line. And every realtor acting as an investment agent should be able to give a mock settlement statement with a big red circle around that bottom line saying this is what you should make. And, there's always going to be, upon discovery, things in a house maybe you didn't, but you should always have some kind of contingency fund to cover that. So you should be within, your margin. And you will learn that you're a gift to them, just like they're a gift to you. They're allowing you to do your skill set and make money for them, but you're making money as well. So you said something funny about that investor agent relationship. When the realtor crosses over, takes that realtor hat off and puts that investor hat on, it's funny because now you're in complete competition with that investor.
Yeah.
If that investor is a stand-up professional investor, he will say, or she will say, good for you, Cally. Most investors want everyone to, make money, and everyone that's on their team, in their circle, because we all learn from each other. And if I find 5 and I only have the resources to do 3, I want my investor to have one of these. Or if he doesn't have a project right now and he has money to spend and I find a good one, why not share it with him?
And that's exactly how you build those relationships. One good thing, one ethical thing at a time, I think.
Right. But trust is a very big deal. And it's kind of funny how, and I don't mean any disrespect. I was like this originally too, a long time ago. When newbie realtors hit the market, they think, I just want to work with investors because they're easy. You just write the contract and you close and there it is. Yeah, it's not like that. If I told you how many houses I looked at every day, you wouldn't believe it. I ride around looking at houses all the time. There's no other way to do it. You can look at comps on a computer. You can look at Google overview or whatever. There's nothing like being in the field and finding that house. And once that investor knows you're working that hard for them or that hard for yourself, you'll have a client for life.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the rehab process. Now, I know you and I have talked before about some of the things like upgrades and touches you put on a house when you do a rehab. Do you have certain things that you do every time to set your projects apart?
I do. A friend of mine, Sam Alley, he's a lender. He works with investors also. He tells me they're signature items, and that makes me laugh because I've started calling them character features. Houses have flavor. They have personality. They have, I had a friend of mine walk into a house, a realtor who was showing houses, and said that she came across one of my houses on my show list, because of the character features that she found. She goes, oh, this is a Cally Doyle house. Mm-hmm. Well, I find, and it's really easy, listen to the buyers. The buyers know what's trendy. They're watching all those HGTV shows. Mm-hmm. They're internet stalkers. They're on every website you can imagine for houses. Mm-hmm. So they get out in the field and they find, here in the Tampa area, they find same old concrete block. And what is that? Sheetrock with 6-panel doors with baseboard. Mm-hmm. So character features can range. In my houses, I always put house jewelry, which is fun lighting. Right now, what's trendy is the Edison bulbs, the pendant lighting, things like that, the bubble glass. Kitchen islands are still popular. I love, big kitchens will always sell a house. Pretty clean bathrooms will always sell a house. I like to use the wood look tile right now, in this year, in this time frame. Talk to me in 5 years, it'll all be different, I'm sure. Because you have to put some trendy, fun things. I like to use barn doors in my houses right now. I use castle keeper shutters. I use pot filler faucets. I can buy a pot filler faucet for $68. And my plumber is there anyway, and we're down to the sheetrock stud stage. So why not just plumb in one right behind the stove, and you've got a pot filler faucet, which is a very high-end feature. Mm-hmm. You might find them in $1 million beachfront, but you won't find that in a $200,000 Tampa suburb.
Right.
And it's a low cost for my contractor to install, but it adds flavor like a very high-end character feature. Mm-hmm. So I've added a wine closet for $500. It sounds crazy, but if you know how to do it, take your carpenter aside and say, build me this, you'll have a little wine closet. And it's not grandiose. It's not huge. It's not refrigerated. It's just a closet in the wall with wine racks that looks amazing. So these are a lot of the things that you can use in houses to set the houses apart. And what are you trying to do? You're trying to make that house as attractive as possible.
Well, and you hit upon something. I don't even know if you really consciously thought about it, but that's your brand, Cally. Cally does this. And I know that's her house because of this.
Never thought of that.
Never thought of it that way, did you? So,
yeah. I can give you specific examples. I can tell you, go to 3020 Midway Road on your Realtor.com. Mm-hmm. It's in Plant City, which is east of Tampa. And look at my barn doors. Look at my farm sink, my castle keeper shutters, my kitchen island, my pot filler faucet. All these items I'm talking about are on that one house. Mm-hmm. And when you can give specific examples to your investors, to your clients, how would you like this? You're in front of a computer everywhere you go these days. You have one on your handheld phone. Just look it up. Say, how would you like some of these features? Those features are not in everyday construction. They're not in everyday rehabs. And rehabbers are all different.
Yeah. What are some of the mistakes that you see rehabbers making?
One big, huge mistake is over-improve. Good God, I see that a lot. People that are new and I did it when I was new. I've seen new investors do it. And when I have a new investor, I have to hold them by the hand and say, you are not going to live here. Stop.
Stop.
Do not put diamond-encrusted bathtubs. Do not put gilded walls. You have to find that fine line where you have to give a good, solid, safe, up to code, spend the money where it counts, the roof, the electric, the plumbing, the AC here in Florida is a big thing. So make sure it's done right, not cut corners, but by God, do not over-improve. And I don't mean to say anything disrespectful. I don't want anybody taking this deeper than it is, but when the wife comes in and starts like hand sewing curtains and starting to decorate, that's it, draw the line. The house goes on the market. It's just not, I have a lot of investors that just, well, wouldn't it look better if we replaced all these windows? Yeah, it would look great, but are you going to live here? Did you want to make a profit maybe? Over improve is the thing that rehabbers do, there's the other side of that too, where they don't do a good job. They're kind of doing it on the cheap, and you can't do that either.
Right.
But over-improve.
One of the things I've noticed in my area is that if you're in a neighborhood, I see my cat walking around.
I know. Hi, kitty.
If you're in a neighborhood where maybe all the people on that street have replaced their windows, then you're kind of in a spot if other homes are for sale on the street and they all have replacement windows. But yeah, I know where you're going with that, because sometimes there are just things that you don't need to do to deliver a quality product and still make a profit. At the end of the day, you have to be able to do both, deliver a quality product and make a profit.
That's, I struggle with that daily. You can never be absolutely 100% efficient at that, because my contractor and I stand there and we just go, our budget's this. Where are we going to spend that money? What matters the most? The house has to have a certain look, a certain vibe. We know what we want it to look like, but we can't always. If a roof is 10 years old, we may be able to, what we do is soft wash it, make the tiles come back to life, make it look pretty, go up in the attic, make sure there's no roofs, make sure there's no missing tiles, actually walk the roof, which my contractor does, and if there's 5 to 8 years life left on that roof, you might want to consider leaving it, with full disclosure,
Yes.
But if it's 15 years old, the first thing you want to do is put a new roof on, because you have financing to look at.
Yeah.
On the back end.
So when it's time for an investor to sell a property, what are some mistakes that they make? It could be with buyers and with their end buyers. What happens that some of these things just don't close?
Like anything else in real estate, any arena, it has to be priced right. So a lot of rehabbers think, oh my God, it's gorgeous. They put their heart and soul, they get emotionally involved. They price it 10% to 14% higher than what their realtor suggests. That's always a problem. The other problem is financing. So if you co-broke and you put it on the market for another realtor, like an MLS type thing, and then a realtor that you've never worked with, they have the same license that I do. They earn the same license. They might not have the experience, but fair and square, we co-broke. This is what we sign up for. So now we get the offer. I get the offer in the email. I present it to my seller. My seller says the price is fine. Everything's great. The only problem is we don't know if they've been approved for their financing. As a professional, we say to each other, has the client been Yeah, I sent you a pre-qual. Pre-qual means nothing. We all know this. It's a piece of paper. So what I do is I like to get the buyer to get pre-approved with my lender. They don't have to use them, but we have to look at their credit. The number one thing, and it just happened to me, it's so hard to prevent. The number one thing is having it crash at the last minute because somebody's taxes weren't right, or something wasn't right, or something happened, with their financing that was unforeseen. So having a reputable lender and making sure that the buyer has already applied, did their uniform loan application on time, and everything was done in a timely manner. And it's not always foolproof, but you really have to stay on top of that.
Yeah, you have to tell them don't make any major purchases too.
Yeah, well, I've been negotiating a short sale now for 2 years, and I just found out that they got divorced, but he got married again.
Oh no.
And we're closing in 2 weeks. So yeah, don't get married, don't buy a new car, when you're dealing with a house sale. But yeah, financing is always the issue on the back end. In a good market, if a house is priced right and it's pretty and move-in ready, you'll sell it. You definitely will sell it. So you have to be choosy about who you want to sell it to, and you have to do your homework and make sure that they're pre-approved, good, strong buyers. You have to do everything that you can to make sure. Very hard, but
it is very hard. So do you have any final tips for people for working with realtors? It was never a problem I had, but some investors, they just really muck up the relationship with the realtor. They take advantage of their time. So let's hear it from a realtor. Tell investors out there how they can better partner with realtors, be a better friend to realtors.
Well, I love this industry, and this is a wonderful professional industry. In every industry, medical, legal, whatever industry you're in, you're going to find some people who might not be as good as others. So that happens in our industry as well. And I think that realtors underestimate the responsibility and the amount of knowledge that they have to have in order to do this type of real estate. Sharon, if you call me up and said, I need a 400-room hotel on Daytona Beach, I would be smart enough and professional enough to refer you to someone who is an expert in that field. Mm-hmm. Would I take that on? I would love a commission like that. I have a teenager going to college. I would love that. Could I pull it off? No. Mm-hmm. So a lot of realtors try to, talk real estate. And any investor that interviews a realtor will know in the first 5 minutes if they know what they're talking about. So I'm going to take the side of investors here, because there's a thing there with realtors and investors, and realtors think it's easy. They do, and I was one of them. I thought it was easy. How hard can it be? You whip out that crisp or that far bar and you write it up, and as is, no inspection, and hey, where's my commission?
We're done.
Yeah, and a lot of realtors do it, and a lot of realtors, and I'm going to say this, throw it on the MLS and hope for the best. That's not the way you treat an investor. An investor is different, because I'll tell you, Sharon, how many times has my contractor gotten people to look at the house during the fixer-upper stage? People just treat it like it's public property. They walk in, there's saws going, the floors are being installed, the roofer guys are there, with their roof gun, nail gun, and people will walk in off the street. Oh, yeah, I knew Susie and Bob that lived here. They got divorced, and I just wanted to see how the house was coming along. So you have looky-loos all the time. One of those looky-loos could be your buyer. Mm-hmm. Now what do? Do you charge your investor full commission? You didn't procure that buyer. And a lot of realtors are like, well, it's my listing. I want this much money. You've got to be able to give and take. If you made $15,000 last week from this investor, why don't you give him a break on the back end on this one? Because the buyer walked in off the street. So that's the problem with realtors. They don't understand that investors are investing their hard-earned money and they need help. And you got to give and take. It's a relationship. That's what it's based on. Give and take and trust. And there's no need for greed. It doesn't work on either side. So.
That's so true. The other side thing, getting a little bit of feedback here. It's so important that people just be honest and do the right thing in this business. And if you just can't go wrong if you do that, but it's always going to come back and bite you in the butt when you do something you shouldn't do. It's true. Always going to do that. Well, Cally, this has been a great show, and you've certainly given us a different look at how realtors and investors can work together, because it's a challenge for some people. And, you took the investor side. A lot of times I talk to investors. I'm not a realtor, but I've worked with realtors for 25 years, and I'll tell them, this person's trying to make a living, so you want to value their time. They're there to help you, but don't ask them to do things that are just stupid,
Well, there are investors that will milk your time. And if I show an investor 20 houses and he's not pulling the trigger, I don't return his call. Or I'll say, you know what, maybe you're not ready, because any one of these houses we could have made money on. I'm not showing them to you just because they're for sale. I'm showing them to you because they're actually an option, and they're here today, gone tomorrow. And this market in Tampa is so tight right now that I don't buy anything off the MLS. It's not priced right for what we do. I have banks that call me. I have hard money lenders that say, this guy hasn't paid in three months. Can you get rid of the house? He left. Being in the business for over 20 years, you get people that know this is what you do. And you know what, Cally, it's really a crappy house. I don't want to put any money into it. Can you see what you can do with it? So I get houses in different sources. Mm-hmm. I don't have to just, buy them through the MLS, because they're overexposed. And if you show an investor a really good house, like this is a home run, why would I show it to you when I've got 5 investors that have treated me so good in the past? I could give it to them very easily.
Right.
So if I'm giving you a list of houses and you pass on everyone, perhaps we're not a good working fit. Mm-hmm. So I feel kind of like, not like I'm being used. It's easy to say, God, he just used my whole day. No, because I got a chance to go see 20 houses and I need to put my eyeballs on these houses. That's for me to see my inventory. I'm going to be out there anyway. So he's coming along with me, doesn't bite on not one of them. I've tested the waters. I know he's not ready. Right. So, we part ways, and maybe in a couple of years he'll come back to me and say, I was silly. I should have bought that, or, but at that time it's not. So you have investors who you feel like, wasting your time, or send me a CMA, send me the comps. Yeah, no, I set my own comps, and I wish we had a whole another hour to talk about comps because they're the most silliest things ever, but another time.
Well, yes, another time, another show for sure. So final question here. I don't want to put you on the spot with this one, but if you read any good books lately, do you have a favorite book that you'd like to tell people about?
The book that I've been reading for so many years, 25 years, it's all dog-eared and coffee all over it, and it's I don't remember the title. The Magic of Thinking Big.
Oh, I love that.
And I'll tell you, it's red, white, and blue. It's the magic of thinking big. Yeah, and it talks about how, and I've read it so many times that I still randomly, if I feel down or overwhelmed or, like just discouraged, like, God, this house won't sell, or, whatever, something's going wrong. I pick it up and I just reroute my whole computer brain into thinking in a bigger, better way. Mm-hmm. And there's one example in that book, and it's so simple, it's almost silly. They talk about you're driving in a parking lot and you've got to park and run in and grab a gallon of milk, egg, bread, whatever, and you come out of the store, and you're just like, there's not going to be a parking spot up front. So let me just park back here and then run across the parking lot. And then you see 3 empty spaces. So why not think big, like always have a positive outlook, and you'll be surprised what you'll find. And I use that every day in my life, and it just works. And why not think positive? Why not? I love that book. Great book.
Well, that's a great book. It's been a while since I've read it. I've read it a couple of times myself. I need to pull that one back out again. So, but thanks again, Cally. You've given people some great information. I'll put Cally's contact information in the blog post, and you'll be able to watch this interview or listen, whichever way you prefer to consume it. So thanks again, Cally, and I'll be back soon with another episode of Let's Talk Real Estate Investing.
Sharon, thank you for letting me talk about what I love the most. Thanks so much.
It was great fun, Cally.
Thank you.